an outline of what you should have in each of the sections and subsections. We are going to give you that to guide you in writing. Guide you in writing. We are going to give you the sections and subsections. The sections and subsections. So the background of the study is where you introduce the study, giving the context. You give the context, and so you introduce what you are studying and the factors associated with what you are studying. What you are studying, and to do that, you are going to list out the key components. What's the key components of the study, or the important things about the study? You are going to list them out. Remember that in writing your proposal, it's almost like you are writing an essay. And of course, in secondary school, we are taught how to write an essay. Usually, we are taught that before you write, when you are writing an essay, you make an outline. You make an outline of the points. So for you to write your background, you have to judge the important things. You have to judge the important things. Okay? Judge the important things there, and then decide on the sequence of how to present it. Knowing fully well that the introduction or this background is the first thing that will be read, and you want it to be attractive. You want it to be attractive. That is actually the secret of writing, the secret of engaging writing. And you want anybody to read what you have. So which means that your initial statements, which is what you have under the background, should be captivating enough. Make it captivating. So what you do, so to do that, you have to outline the important aspects of the work, and then decide on the sequence. Because each of the key aspects, all the key aspects of the research will have to be interwoven. They have to be interwoven. All the key aspects will have to be interwoven. So you make a list and then decide on how to write them. Make a list and then decide on how to write them. I'm going to give you an example. An example is the CAP study. The CAP, or the knowledge, attitude, and use of clinical preventive services amongst patients attending general outpatient clinic of a tertiary hospital in South Nigeria. So that is the research topic. So what are the important things there? The important thing there is clinical preventive services. And clinical preventive services are used for non-communicable diseases. They are used for non-communicable diseases. And you are carrying out the study in the outpatient clinic of a tertiary hospital. Okay, outpatient of a tertiary hospital, so you can start the problem. The main problem is the non-communicable diseases. Non-communicable diseases. Okay, so you can talk about non-communicable diseases, and then you talk about, you bring in the importance of you can now bring in the importance of clinical preventive services. Clinical preventive services are used for the services or clinical tests, clinical examinations, including laboratory examinations, that are used to diagnose, and that are used for the early diagnosis of these non-communicable diseases. Knowing fully well that non-communicable diseases, most times they are there, but they may not be causing symptoms. In fact, by the time they begin to cause symptoms, they have done a lot of damage in the body. So you have to talk about non-communicable diseases, the importance of clinical preventive services. Then you talk about the uptake. The thing there is uptake. The uptake is important. Uptake is important, especially when it is when the patients or persons are expected to come when they are not sick, when they are not sick, because usually it is sickness that takes the patient to the hospital. Okay, and the fact that it's an outpatient clinic, outpatient clinics are different from specialist clinic, specialist clinic, because outpatient clinics are said to be non-differentiated. You see non-differentiated patients, which means you see patients of all kinds. You see patients of all kinds. Patients that need surgery, patients that need to, diabetic patients, hypertensive patients, patients that came to treat malaria, or even gynecology and all those cases. And that's why they are called undifferentiated. So they are different from the specialist clinic, where they see patients with known problems. So please just note how the background of a study is written. They provide the context. So how to write it is to take note of the important aspects of the study in the topic, and then try to weave all of them together in an interesting way. And please note that you are writing, you should write as much as possible with flowing prose, which means that instead of bullet points, please use paragraphs. Instead of bullet points, please use paragraphs. Okay. So the second part of the introduction is the statement of a problem. In this case now, you want to tell us how serious the problem is. And to tell us how serious the problem is, you tell us about the prevalence, how common the problem is in the population. And not only that, you have to also tell us the consequences of the problem, the consequences of the research problems. And these consequences will include both immediate and more and long-term, both direct and indirect. So the direct consequence of a health problem are problems that flow directly from the health problem. For example, if you eat fish that is contaminated with crude oil, the direct problem is that you have diarrhea. You have diarrhea, and it can result in cancer probably after several years. Okay, that's a direct problem. But indirect problems are not caused by the health problem, but as a consequence of that health problem. So, for example, now if there's an oil spill, it will destroy the fish. It will kill the fish, and if it kills the fish, it kills the fish and destroy farmlands. And if it destroys farmlands, it means that people will go hungry, and if when children go hungry, they can be for a long time they become stunted. And if a girl child is stunted, it means that her pelvic bone and that her waist bone will be smaller. And if her waist bone is smaller, it means that she will have a problem with giving birth, what we call CPD. CPD, that is a cephalopelvic disproportion. The baby will find it difficult. Will find it difficult to come out of through her waist, because her waist would have been smaller because of the malnutrition, and which means that the woman will require cesarean section. And if the woman, and in Nigeria, where cesarean sections are provided on a cash and carry basis, which means that if the woman doesn't have money, if the woman and the husband, if they can't fund it, they can't pay for it, it means that she can die from it, or she can have prolonged labor that can result in obstetric injuries like VVF. Okay, so you can see the consequences of oil spill. It is not just immediate, but not immediate, but long term. And it's not just indirect, it's not just direct, but indirect. So under this statement of the problem, we'll expect you to go to town to talk about the problem, how frequent, how common is the problem, and the consequences of that problem. Okay, so you have a lot to write. You have a lot to write. So, and one of those places where you can write a lot will be this statement of the problem. This statement of the problem. But note that in your proposal, you can just write a little. Write a little, but when you are writing your dissertation, you can expand. You can go to town. You can go to town. Okay. The second, okay, we have talked about that. The second one is the justification of the problem of the study. You have to justify the study. Why are you carrying out the study? Why are you carrying out the study? You are carrying out a study because it's a research. Why are you carrying out the research? Okay. Usually you carry out research because you want to fill a research gap. You carry out a research because you want to fill a research gap. And how do you identify a research gap? You identify a research gap by answering two questions. The first one is, have similar studies been carried out? Yes or no? Yes or no? And then if they have been carried, if yes, how is your study? How is your proposed study different from other studies? So you have to justify your study. You have to justify your study. Okay, and in the academia or in writing, academic writing, you are not you have to show evidence. So if you say if there have been, if you ask have there been any study, similar studies, you have to show us why, how you are able to find that, how you have been able to find that. Did you do an internet search? Did you search the library, physical library? Did you call known experts to find out if similar studies have been carried out? You answer yes or no. And if you find, you have to briefly review them, and then to identify that research gap. Remember when we were telling you about choosing a topic, we gave you instances where you can even do a topic. You can even repeat a study that has been that has previously been carried out. We said, for example, if they have changed the definition, the criteria, the diagnostic criteria of the diagnostic criteria as they did with hypertension. We said if you want to use a different methodology, for example, if they use the cross-sectional study design, you can decide to use an interventional, which is even higher in the hierarchy of studies, and then you can decide to carry it out in a different population. Remember the hypertension studies that I told you, examples I told you. I've done hypertension studies amongst lecturers, amongst traditional rulers, and even amongst clergy. So you can use other studies. And then the one they call the circular. Okay, the other one too in different population too. So if you are carrying out the study if studies used to be carried out in a facility, health facility, it's always better. It's also better to go to the community to carry it out, because when you carry out the study in a community, it means that the so-called iceberg effect will not be a problem. Will not be a problem to you. Okay, so these are the justification. I must say that the problem I've seen, the mistake I've seen with a lot of students is the mistake of taking significance of the study as the justification. No, the significance of the study is different from this justification. The significance of the study is different from the justification. Justification is related to the study, the research gap, while significance has more to do with the contribution to knowledge or contribution to practice. In fact, in the protocol of our School of Postgraduate Studies, of Graduate Studies, they separated them. Justification comes, study justification comes after the statement after the statement of the problem comes justification before you get to aim and study objectives and so forth. Okay, so that is that. We have told you about those justification. Okay, the reasons why that can be given. I think I will just pause briefly if there is any question or comments before we go to this, the aim, study aim and study objectives, which are very, very important. In fact, the most important aspect of the most important part of the proposal. I don't know if there's any question or if there's any question, if there's any comment. Any question, any comments? Okay, Augusta.
Good evening, Prof. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm Augusta.
Yes.
Okay, sir. I want to ask thank you for this lecture. In the proposal, are we meant to reference?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, of course. For all academic writings, you have to include a reference. Okay, because I didn't include it because it's actually a given. It must include a reference. Perhaps I should even include it so that there won't be any ambiguity. Hello, Samuel.
Yes, Prof.
Yes,
good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Hello, Prof. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello? Hello? Oh, Samuel, you are muted again. Oh. Hello, Samuel. Okay. Perhaps we should
Good evening,
go to...
Prof.
Yeah, good evening.
All right. Thank you, Prof, for the lecture on the introduction where you 1.3 justification. When you were lecturing, you said there are two pertinent questions we need to ask under this subheading under justification of the study. I got the first one, which you said have similar study been conducted with evidence. I didn't get the second pertinent questions we need to ask.
And if yes, how is your study different from the other studies? Where you have to actually identify the research gap. Okay? Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Yes. Hello, good.
Okay, good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Okay, my question, I was confused when you were talking your last statement, you were explaining difference between the significance of study and I didn't really get what you were saying. I didn't get it very well.
Okay, I said justification of the study is related to the research gap, while significance of the study is more like the contribution to knowledge or contribution to practice. But I know that people confuse them. In fact, a lot of times people write the contribution to practice, contribution to knowledge under justification. They are technically not the same. They are technically not the same, yeah. And our graduate school, which we are using their templates, I told you now that this is their course.
Yes, sir.
They said they actually separated them. We will soon get to the significance. Significance of the study comes after the aim and study objective and research questions.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Amara.
Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Prof, I have a question regarding this our proposal writing.
Yes.
Prof, when we finish and submit our proposal, will there be a plagiarism check?
No, it's too early. It's too early.
Okay,
Plagiarism test is done at the end. But the most important thing is not even whether you plagiarize or not. The most important thing is to set a good objectives, and then have a good methodology, just a protocol on how to carry out your study. The interest, that's why we said you shouldn't even write much. People, they say if you don't understand something, that is when you write, you try to cover up with really long sentences, or what Hausa people call dogo trunchi. Yes. Yes. Hello, George. Hello, George.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Prof. Good evening, everyone. Sir, the proposal, since we are talking about is an essay, are we going to accurately give highlight these backgrounds, like the background? When you get to background, right under the background justification. I'm just wondering, since
yes.
Essay,
yes.
Are we just
writing?
No.
Okay, I said essay, but it will have those sections. In fact, sections and the subsections, they should have it. It's just that under those sections and the subsections, they should be written with prose and with paragraphs. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So we are going into the most important part of the whole thing, the aim and study objectives. How do we do the aim? The aim is similar to your topic. It's similar to your topic. The aim is similar to your topic. And just as I said that this is the most important, because it will determine, your study objectives will determine the kind of study you will carry out. It will determine even the study tool, how the kind of data you collect, and even how you are going to analyze the data, how you analyze the data. So everything about the study is determined by the study objectives. That's why your supervisor, most times they are not even interested in the other aspects, in your background justification, background statement of the problem, justification. They are not interested at this point. In fact, for me, we have even said you should just write aim and study objective and then move on to the methodology. Because the other sections can be written at the final moment, at the last moment. But if you get your study objectives wrong, it means that your data will be wrong. It means that your results will be invalid, and it means that you cannot even discuss anything. So, for people like us that are stressed a lot, we are supervising a lot of students. A lot of times we are not interested, especially at this point. We are interested in making sure that the study objectives are right. And that is what we are going to do. In fact, if it is the only thing we will achieve in this lecture, we have done very, very well. Or what in the Sunday school they call the memory verses. Please, this is it. Let's know how to. The aim is easy because it is similar. It's similar to your title. You just to add the action words to determine, to compare, to assess. Just add it to your aim. Just add it to your topic, and that is it. I must also stress that at times the aim is called general objective. The aim is called general objective. Yes, in some dissertations they call it general objectives, and I'm sure that if you had done some studies in probably other universities other than the University of Port Harcourt, they would have used general objective. But the University of Port Harcourt, they want you to use AIM. They want you to use AIM. In fact, even during your final defense, when the dean or his representative, that is the dean of the School of Graduate Studies, or his representative, when they come, they will be looking at this. They will come with the protocol, the official, and they want you to write it as written there. So the aim of the study, please note, it is aim, not the general objective. Okay. So as we said, the aim is similar to the topic. So you just to add to assess, to compare, to determine. Okay, so that is it. That is it. So it's very easy. So, but the one that very, very much we have to spend a lot of time to know is the objectives. The objectives are usually a subset, a subcategories of the aim. Aim is usually the outcome. Aim is the outcome. Aim is the outcome. Why this?
Prof, please, your voice is low.
Aim is the outcome. Aim is the, I don't know, is it? I hope it's not that low.
No, sir, your voice is no, it's okay,
No,
sir.
can hear you, sir.
Okay, so so usually the aim, aim is the outcome, the endpoint. For example, optic, for you to go for immunization, that is the endpoint. But before you go, remember what we taught you in the behavior and health promotion about this behavioral change communication. Before you do something, you already would have known about that thing. That is the knowledge, and with knowledge will come the good positive attitudes before you patronize. Okay, and of course, if you are also interested, but if you are interested even in behavior, you're interested in, say, hand washing, the hand washing practices, you want to know whether that individual, the respondent, is how much he or she knows about the importance of hand washing. Okay, and apart from that, you want to also know the attitude towards hand washing, and then the hand washing itself. So usually the objectives are broken down. The objectives are broken down aims. Okay, so a lot of times, personally, I like that what we call the CAP studies, CAP study, because it will give you an idea of what to measure. So if you see an optic, you know that before, it's not just to go ahead and study the optic. It is better for you to know the processes that resulted in that optic. It's better to know about the processes that resulted in the optic. So that's why we will encourage you. Most of your research topic, once you have started submitting, but most of them will be captured into that CAP. We can put CAP instead of putting the optic of hand washing practices. Hand washing practices. We may probably change the topic to knowledge, attitude, and hand washing practices of mothers. Just to make sure that you recognize the fact that the objectives should include knowledge, should include attitude, should include practice. Okay, so that's what we want you to know. So most of what you are going to do, whether it is clearly stated as a CAP study, that is knowledge, attitude, and practice, but once it involves knowledge, once it involves practice, once it involves lifestyle, please, make it a cap, ensure that the objectives, you capture it as knowledge, attitude, and practice. Okay, there is another thing that we have to also say, especially when you're evaluating a service. That is what they call the, I'm sure that you did, those of you in MPH, the MPH program, you did 2 courses in health system management. They are used to assessing the quality, or they are used to assessing the evaluation of a health service. And usually how they do it is what they call the input, the process, and the outcome. The input, the process, and the outcome. So if you are interested in the effectiveness of, say, family planning services, effectiveness of family planning services, you're not going into the uptake of family. You're not just interested in just the outcome. You are also interested in, say, if you are talking about service, what of the people, the input? The input will be the availability of contraceptives. It will be the health workers that are needed. It will even be the service period. How the clinic, is the clinic open around the clock or something? And then the other one is the process. The service delivery is actually the process of ensuring it, and then the output. The output will be how many women take up those family planning services. Okay, so you have to also note that. The another way of identifying an objective has to do with the valid measures of the outcome, a valid measure of the outcome. When you are taught quality of service, I'm sure that you came in contact with what they call the waiting time. You came in contact with what is called the waiting time. Waiting time is the time used. It is commonly used to assess quality of service. And then adherence. There are certain valid measures used for certain things. And control programs, there are certain important indices. If you are carrying out a study on, say, HIV, you must be interested in viral load suppression. Viral load suppression, no longer significant, count as a measure of the quality. And then if you're assessing tuberculosis, you'll be talking about a cure rate, default rate. If you are talking about immunization services, if you're assessing immunization services, default rate, the proportion of children with complete immunization and so forth. If you are talking, so you have to take note of these valid measures, and that is the reason why literature reviews are very, very important. Before you carry out a study, you do a literature review to identify the valid measures. Because if you use your own assessments, then it will not be valid. For example, access to water supply. And you have not done environmental health, but how well the members of the community are able to meet the water needs. They use the travel time, the to and fro travel time between the person's home and where they will fetch the water, and it's set at 30 minutes. So you have to know the valid measures and then input them. Okay, and if you are doing a study on validity of a test, you are comparing ROGT and macroscopy, you must be able to, you should be able to know about sensitivity and specificity. So all this you have to know. And then we also talk about objectives. Objectives as being smart. We talk about objectives that are being smart. And that is why we prefer study objectives rather than research questions. I know research questions are used by those in social sciences. And of course, I've seen a lot of them being used by our students, mostly because they contracted their dissertation to who the people I would call service providers. Service providers. But for us, we prefer using specific objectives, study objectives, because study objectives are smart and we like quantitative, we like data, we like figures. We like figures so that we can analyze them and bring out interesting findings. So we like our studies, our research, our studies to be based on these specific objectives and not the research questions. So as we said, that the specific objective should be SMART, and the SMART means SMART is an acronym for X. S is specific, M is measurable, A is achievable, R is realistic, and T is time-bound. So you have to make sure that in setting your objectives must be SMART. If your objectives are not SMART, they are not good enough. They are not good enough. They are specific. Specific means that they should be stated in all non-ambiguous terms. Unambiguous. They should be stated in precisely. And at times you can even say, for this year's study, I am defining a man as somebody that is 5 feet tall. Oh, sorry, 6 feet tall. That is your own. But yes, that is being specific. But the only problem is that if you define it, will you be able to find studies that also define men as being at least 6 feet tall? Okay? So that is the problem. But you have to define it precisely, be specific. And usually I like this adherence to ITN use. I like adherence to ITN use because it is actually defined as the use of the net the previous night, the use of the net the night before the study. So it is not, so even if the person has been using the net all through, if the person got tired and forgot to put down the net, if you are carrying out the study, you will record that guy as not adherent because he did not use the net the previous night. Okay. And another one is an issue that's very, 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 very popular, especially amongst the female doctors. Now, N1 people. It has to do with gender-based violence. Gender-based violence. If you look at the definition of gender-based violence, that is the official definition. A lot of that definition make most men in Nigeria violent people, because things that are cultural are assumed as being violent. Things that are cultural are being violent. And things like in rape, the definition is such that a lot of people will be classified as having raped somebody. Having raped somebody. Yeah, because especially in the traditional setting where that first date, woman is supposed to behave with restraint and all those things. So we have to, when you are carrying out a study, please precisely state it. And another example I often cite is drug abuse. I once went to Uniben to examine medical students, and one of them did a study on drug abuse and amongst Unipen students, and she recorded more than close to 95%. Close to 95%. Okay, so you would just think that almost all students of the university engage in drug abuse. You would think that, but until you will look at what she considered as drug abuse. In fact, she included taking drugs without prescription. Taking drugs without prescription. Okay, in fact, if you say taking drugs without prescription, that is in itself not completely true, because there are some drugs that are called over-the-counter drugs. So those drugs, you are not supposed to take them without you don't need a prescription before taking them. Yes, but the student classified it, opened it up, such that if you take paracetamol without a prescription, you'll be considered as being engaged in drug abuse. So the definition of what you are studying is very, very important. You have to precisely state it and go by it. You have to precisely state it and go by it. Okay, so being specific. And being specific even includes how diseases are being diagnosed. How diseases are being diagnosed. It should interest you that diseases are not diagnosed in the same way. In fact, there are three methods of diagnosing a disease. So in carrying out the study, you have to specify which one you are using. Is it the case definition? Is it laboratory diagnosis? Is it clinical diagnosis? Case definition is when you just describe what you consider as a case, as the case of the disease. When I was in medical school, when HIV test was very expensive, was very, very expensive. They were using the case definition, and they would say history of weight loss and so and so, plus, or what they call the minor and major signs. You combine them. So that is a case definition. So that is a case that is different from laboratory diagnosis. And laboratory diagnosis are based on are carried out with laboratory tests, which laboratory tests are more specific, more sensitive. Okay, but there is also what they call the clinical diagnosis, where the doctor looks at the symptoms and signs of the patient and decide whether they have the disease. When you are carrying out a study, you must state the one. You must state the one. Their definition. You must state it. At the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, case definitions were used, where they talk about fever and, of course, the history of foreign travels. Was a case definition. Okay. So if you do that, it means that a lot of people with fever, in fact, almost everybody, the patients that came to hospitals with like teaching hospitals, fell significantly during the COVID-19, because anybody that came with fever was a suspected case. So when you are carrying out the study, and you have to make sure that you have to be specific, and being specific is that even looking at the disease entity and deciding which one. And then the study population, you have to specify them. Please even note that even that the research topic we said you should include, we say you should specify the study population. Yes, because they are not the same. The general population will consist of everybody. But you have under 5, you have women of the productive age, you have elderly persons, and in environmental health, or where you are interested in exposure, like air pollution, you'll be interested in the exposed persons, people that were exposed. So there you have to distinguish them. And then even in the study population, even if you are doing a hospital-based study, you will know that patients of a hospital, especially the tertiary hospitals, they are not the same. Outpatients are different from inpatients. Outpatients, they may not be as sick as inpatients. And emergency patients seen in the emergency department usually have more serious illness than patients seen in the GOPD. So we have to note that. And even in the departments, like O&G, not all their patients are not the same. Some are pregnant women. Some are even women attending infertility clinic. Some are women with gynecological problems. Okay, so all these you have to. That is the reason why you have to specify the study population. You have to specify the study population. And we said that we also say that the objectives must be measurable. You must be able. When you set the objectives, you must measure. You must measure, knowing very fully well that we said that you can only study what you can measure. You can only study what you can measure. You cannot study what you can't measure. You can't say you want to measure, take the anthropometric measurement of angels. No, you cannot, because you can't see them. So how would you take the anthropometric measurements? Okay, so you can only measure what you can. You can only study what you can measure. And in our own, in the whole thing, we have two ways of measuring things. It's either you measure with weights or you measure directly, or what they call quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative and qualitative. Okay, quantitative and qualitative, and so you can measure. You must be able to measure it. Even if you say the quality, even if you say the quality of service, remember you have to find a way. We have to find a way of assessing the quality, waiting time, or if we want to assess the water quality, access to water supply. You said the travel time, how long it takes the individual to fetch water. However abstract that thing is, you must find a way to measure. You must find a way to measure that thing. It's only when you can measure, only when you can find a way to measure it, that you can study it. You cannot measure, you cannot study what you cannot measure. You cannot study what you cannot measure. Okay, and even when words are spoken, a lot of you will do studies with questionnaire. Questionnaire records words, but you have to find a way to make it more objective, to add objectivity, to add measurability to those words. And that's why we talk about knowledge. Sorry, we'll talk about knowledge. We have to find a way to assess the knowledge of the person. We have to find a way to assess the knowledge of respondents. And then we said later, when we will teach you how to design their study tool, you'll come to know about assessing knowledge using exam-like questions, And even for disease conditions, you have to categorize them. You have to categorize them: normal, abnormal. Hypertension, normal, abnormal. Diabetes, normal, abnormal. Even weight, overweight, underweight. You have to classify. You have to categorize them. So that you can, yes. And then you have to always find a way. We have talked about knowledge. Even for attitude. You have to find a way to measure attitude. Attitude is the disposition towards something. You must find a way to measure that attitude, that disposition. And one of the best ways of measuring that disposition, which is almost like an abstract thing, is to use a Likert scale to measure it. We are going to tell you more about how to do that. Then the objective should be achievable. It should be achievable. You are not going to receive any grants. You are not going to receive any grants, but yes, which means that it has to be funded. It has to be funded by you, just as we said. You have to ask yourself some questions. Can you finish? Can you complete the study within the period allowed? You won't have more than six months to do this project. So you should be able to conclude the project within 6 months. And if you can conclude the project within 6 months, do you have the money? Do you have the logistics? Do you have the assessment tools? Do you have the statistical backup to conclude it within that period? And then realistic. Okay. Realistic. So, okay. Achievable, realistic. Okay, we are saying about the time, and then everything has to be time bound. You are going to do cross-sectional study, so you have to cross-sectional study is a study in time, a period in time. So you have to tell us. When. In fact, if you are collecting your data, you must tell us the date. You must tell us the period you collected the data. Because periods may be different. Periods are important, especially when the disease condition has seasonal variations. If they have seasonal variations like malaria is more during the rainy season, or mosquitoes and malaria are more during the rainy season. So it is always better. It is better for you to do the study. During. You have to specify it so that you can interpret the findings. And then in your epidemiology, I'm sure you are taught about point prevalence and period prevalence. Point prevalence is that moment in time where period prevalence is over a certain period. And in your literature review, I'm sure you would have had some. In your literature review, you will also know how certain things are assessed. For example, what is the period? Diarrhea. Period prevalence of diarrhea is used as a measure of access to sanitation facilities. It's usually calculated over 2 weeks. So you have to note about that. Okay, we have talked about it, that a lot of you, just to almost like to wrap up these specific objectives, a lot of you are going to do CAP study. About practice and behavior. It will end up being you are likely to get 4 objectives. If it's a CAP study, you will get the objectives are likely to be 4: knowledge, attitude, practice, and then this 4th one. The 4th one is the factors associated with the practice or the uptake. I want you to add that 4th one, because that is what distinguishes an undergraduate study from a postgraduate study. In fact, some persons will just think that PG students should not be doing CAP studies. No, they can, or they can, especially when they are able to add this 4th objective. And this 4th objective involves cross-tabulations, bivariate analysis, which can even make your study move your study from descriptive cross-sectional study to analytical cross-sectional study. Okay, so those of you, if you are doing a CAP study, please note that your study objectives must be a minimum of four study objectives. Okay, and if you are doing any study that has to do with hypertension, diabetes, and other metabolic diseases, please take notes. According to the WHO Step 2 questionnaire, there are associated factors you must include in the study objectives. So all of you, if you are doing a study on hypertension, diabetes, you must include BMI. That is, do anthropometric measurements. You must do the dietary practice. You must do physical. You must include physical activity, alcohol consumption, tobacco, or cigarette smoking. You must include all those five. All those five. You can include them as specific objectives, or you can group them as the risk factors of hypertension or risk factors of diabetes. Those risk factors are mostly of these five: dietary habits, BMI, physical activity, alcohol consumption, cigarette smoking. Okay. I don't know if I don't know, questions or comments we can take. Questions, comments we can take on these specific objectives. Questions? Okay.
Hello,
Augusta.
sir.
Yeah, Augusta.
Okay. You talked about behavioral related research topics, which involve the CAP, then also for non-communicable diseases, also for infectious disease like HIV. To throw more light on a research topic on occupational health about workers.
Yeah. We want want to include hazard identification. We want to do almost like a hybrid. The professional for you, occupational health service practice will always include hazard identification of workplace hazards, as usually carried out with a walkthrough. A walkthrough. We want to identify the hazards, and then want you to, and then the preventive practices and the factors associated with preventive practices. So for those our occupational health, depending on their topic, we expect you to have about 5. So 4 + 1. And that +1 is the hazard to identify the.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, surprisingly not much, but let's just assume that it's either well understood or well confused. But I just pray that it is, let's just think that it is well understood. Okay, so the next one is it's fillet.
Oh, good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your lectures.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned CAP study, that the objective should be like 4. So
Yes.
knowledge, attitude, and practice. The 4th objective, what will it be like?
Is the factors associated with the practice, so that you can do a cross-tabulation or a cross-tabulation of the practice with knowledge, practice with attitude, and practice with the social demographics.
All right, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Hello, Joseph. Good evening, Prof. So, thank for the lecture. I just want to clarify, please, which referencing style are we going to use? Is it Harvard or Vancouver or
No,
APA?
it's APA.
Thank you, sir.
APA. Our graduate school, they want us to do APA. Even though I would have, anyway, we are used to Vancouver, but they want us to do APA. So we will do APA. APA can even, it's even better because the Vancouver is that once you add a new reference, it changes the whole thing because you have to number your references as they appear on the test. Okay, so you are going to use APA. I think they said it's the 7th edition or so. Hello, Samson.
Thank you so much, Prof.
Yeah.
Just want to ask if we're going to get the PG school guideline.
Yeah, you printed them in the lecture slide. Just as I said that this is their course, we are just helping them teach. Okay, so we can move forward. The next is this study research question. Let's just say.
Good evening, sir. My hand is raised again.
Okay, go ahead.
So please, this referencing says, are we going to be taught how to do referencing? Because personally, I have a problem with that. I can quote, I can write, but I don't know how to reference. So I don't know if
don't worry,
just appeal.
You'll be taught. You'll be taught.
Oh.
Personally too. Anytime I'm writing, I also have to consult the book to make sure I'm doing it right. Yes, well, you'll be taught. Okay, so the research question, we are teaching it. Our graduate school also expects that you also include it. But just as I said, it's usually a source of confusion. It's a source of confusion because it is what they commonly use in social sciences. And I have seen it a lot. I have seen it a lot being used by our students. And when I see it being used as the basis to present their results, it reminds me, it convinces me that it's, of course, from external sources. It's not what we teach, and it's likely to be a service provider that didn't have access to our lecture slides. Okay, so our graduate school expects you to have study research questions. In fact, so research questions are usually they can be derived from the research, from the study objectives. It's just that they are now converted into questions. They are now converted into questions. So when they are converted into questions, at times it affects their measurability. There are times because they don't, and that's why research questions are commonly used for qualitative studies. Qualitative studies. So, okay, and then they are usually used for qualitative studies. At times, some people say that research questions may be difficult in the cross-sectional studies because research questions usually compare study populations. But the good thing is that for cross-sectional studies where your study population is 1, it means that you can even use the social demographics. In that case, you can say hand washing is hand washing better amongst men than in women. Okay, you can do that. You can even use the social demographics, occupational groups, educational status. You can do that. You can use it for your research questions. But our graduate school expects that you have something on your research question, research question, and this is what you derive is what you derive from the specific objectives. Okay, the hypothesis is also derived from research questions, from the study objectives, and it's almost like gut feeling. Gut feeling is also better. It's also better when you are comparing two populations. It's also better when you are comparing two populations. But the research hypothesis, they try to forecast the results. They try to forecast the results. Remember, when we are carrying out a study, because we want to answer certain questions. So research hypothesis is usually stated to forecast the results. And there are actually two types of hypothesis, study hypothesis. There is the alternate, and then the null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. The null hypothesis will always say that there is no difference. There's no difference between one study population and the other, or one social demographics and the other. Why the alternate will say that there is a difference, and it is expected that you state both of them. You state both the null and the alternate hypothesis. Okay. So we have done that. So the next now will be the significance of the study. Remember, we are talking that significance of the study is sometimes confused with the justification of the study. We sometimes confuse significance of the study with the justification of the study. Significance of the study with the justification of the study. And we have to say that significance of the study is more towards the contribution of the study to practice or to knowledge. So if you are carrying out a study on immunization in a rural community, it means that you are contributing data, information on immunization, the uptake of immunization services in that community, in that community. And then you can go ahead and talk about what will be the contribution to to practice. So if you know, if it is known that the uptake is low, it means that the government will have to make more effort to encourage people, to encourage childhood immunization in order to prevent the outbreak of vaccine preventable diseases. So you can stretch it there and you can talk. Yeah. Okay. So we have talked about that. The other thing now, the next is the last of the subsections of the introduction is the study limitation. Is the limitation of the study. Limitation of the study. Limitation of the study is, I think I've forgotten the lady was saying, didn't understand why limitation should be in chapter 1. But this is proposal. In this proposal is what you intend to do. So it's better for you to identify the things that are likely to affect the validity of the results of your study. Okay? And it has to do with, though a lot of them has to do with the methodology, or even your study, even your aim and study objective. Okay? Because in your aim and study objective, you are going to state the study population where you are going to carry out the study. If you decide to carry out the study in a health center, it means that the iceberg effect will be there, will become a problem. Mm-hmm. if you are carrying out the study, if it's a cross-section, if you state that if it's a cross-sectional study, it means that you have to carry out the study one moment in time at one certain period. And if if you are studying some things that have seasonal variation, it means that it means that you have to be careful with industrial strike. If there's any because industrial strike can affect it. Industrial strike can affect can delay it, can push what you are supposed to do in the rainy season. A study you are supposed to do in the rainy season can push it into the dry season, which will affect the validity of the study. Okay. One mistake. So the thing there in this proposal, if you notice anything that is likely to affect the validity of your study, this is the opportunity to remedy it. And that is one of the reasons why it should be in your chapter, in your introduction. When you notice it, you have to find a way to remedy it in your methodology. Find a way to remedy it in your methodology. So, yes, there are certain. For example, now, if your study is very, very sensitive, you have to consider administering using self-administration. Self-administration, so that the person can complete the questionnaire in the privacy of his or her room. Okay, but if you choose self-administration, it means that you have to increase the non-response because you are not likely to get all the questionnaires. So this study limitation is actually designed when you list the possible things that are likely to affect the validity of your study. The next thing is to do something to remedy it. Do something to remedy it. And I also must say that at times you can run into trouble. You can be beaten. If adequate security measures are not taken, you can be beaten. But just know, unless that results in the loss of your data, it is not likely to affect the fact that you are beaten. It's not likely to affect the validity of your study. Okay. Yeah. Yes. It's not likely to affect the validity of your study. Okay. So there is a study limitation. Then the next we'll talk about will be the literature review. Literature review, we said literature review is probably the area that you are going to use to add bulk to your dissertation. Dissertation. And this literature review usually consists of three components: the theoretical framework, the conceptual framework, and the empirical review. The theoretical framework has to do with the theories that underpin that your work, the theories that underpin your study. If you are doing a study that has to do with a CAP study, it means that you'll be using the behavioral change theories. The behavioral change theories that postulate that before a practice or an outtake, that it usually flows from knowledge, attitude, before it gets to practice. Okay, and then if you are talking about other diseases, in the health sciences, we have what they call the pathophysiology. You should be able to tell us how, if you're interested in, say, mosquitoes and malaria parasitemia, you should be able to tell us how mosquitoes are able to cause malaria. Yes, are able to cause malaria. If you want to tell us how the consumption of alcohol, how it can result in accidents. You can do that. At times, one of the best ways of illustrating and theoretical framework is to do the schematic diagram, a flow, where one thing will flow into the other, and it clearly shows the cause and the effects. Okay, the conceptual framework is almost like all the concepts involved. It's almost like writing a textbook or lecture notes, moving the stuff. Some people will even add the history of the whole thing. Okay, and then the empirical review is when you carry out a review according to the specific objective of the study, according to the specific objectives of the study. But for your proposal, we just expect you to present just the theoretical framework. Just give us the theoretical framework. So it shouldn't be, the literature review shouldn't be much, because we don't want you to, although you have to understand how the relationship between the concepts of the study. The relationship, you have to understand all the pathophysiology of the problem you are researching, but we don't want you to go deep into it, because you will not be given a lot of time. You'll be given barely 1 month to write this year proposal. Okay, so I don't know if there's any other question or comments. Any question or comment?
Prof, good evening, sir.
Yeah, Ikechukwu.
Yeah, good evening, Prof. Thank you so much for the wonderful knowledge you're transmitting. Mine is a little concern concerning the research questions. From your analysis, it appears to be for more of social sciences, but yet the School of Graduate Studies is demanding of such from us. Are we really going to include it in our write-up, or are we going to dwell with just objectives?
You will do it as they have demanded.
Okay,
also emphasizing a lot of it being used, but I know the source, because a lot of our students contract the work out, and a lot of the people are those that are used to social science research, so they will be using research questions, and they will be analyzing funny things. Okay. Elekpa, madam.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Prof.
Yes.
Thank you so much for the lecture. Prof, you talk about non-response in your questionnaire, but I want to ask for an interviewer-administered questionnaire that is probably electronic. Is it not actually possible to fill all the questionnaires in 3 field? So is it possible to have a non-response of 0?
Yes, yes. Yeah, which means it's 100%.
Okay, sir.
Yes, if it is electronic, no problem. But even if it is electronic, I know the number of messages that are sent to my email, and I didn't respond. But to tell you the truth, anyway, if I have to tell you the truth, we believe that students don't even collect the data. We believe that they don't collect, they just stay in their rooms and then cook up. And when people are cooking up, so if once you begin to see 100%, it's a red flag. It's a red flag. But it doesn't mean that it cannot be 100% response. But it's one of those things that they say, this one way it will be 100%. It's better. And schools are also beginning to adopt measures and say, you have to find a way and get the questionnaires, field questionnaires across. And if you use an electronic, you have to let us access. Let's have access to the database. Yes, but it is completely perfectly all right. But in this research too is also didactic. You want to train you, and you train you. So if you are using, if it says, although we are going to, when we get to the methodology, we will probably talk more. So if it is interview administered, you know that there's a likelihood that the no response will be smaller. So you can use 10%. 10% markup. And if it is self-administered, it will be higher. Then you are expected to use higher. Because the most important thing is that you don't go below the minimum sample size. Okay. Well done. Hello, Gift.
Good evening, Prof.
Good evening.
Prof, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sir. My question is this research proposal, how soon are we presenting?
First week of February.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Yes. And we expect research topics to be submitted probably in 1 or 2 weeks' time so that we can have it approved. Then you have your supervisor assigned to you. Then you can work with the supervisors. And then by first week of February, we'll start the presentations. Okay. Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Prof. Good evening. My question
Yes.
is, if a research topic that has no preview, there's no work that have been previously done on it, how would the literature review go?
It will also be interesting. The literature reviews, you notice that they are of 3 components. They have three subsections. The conceptual, the theoretical is to tell you how it's possible. How is possible. Before Americans before they went to the moon, before they went to the moon, nobody had gone to the moon. But there are concepts, there are theories that made it, that they believe that it's possible to get to the moon. So that is the theoretical. The concepts is the basic, the building blocks. Is the building blocks. If you are, and there is actually nothing that you don't have something on. There's not, so you can, I don't know what would be that have not been done before. And let me also tell you that if you say something, although we said that justification, have similar studies been done, not in your community, not in that community. Not in that community. If they have done the study anywhere in the world, you will say that, oh, they did the study. The only justification can be that, oh, they did the study in the US, but you couldn't find anyone done in Nigeria, or they did the study in Ibadan, but that was done 20 years ago. So that is the thing, and not to tell us that they did, because they did the study the study hadn't been done in your hometown, and therefore you can do it. You should do it in your hometown. No, it's not like that. Okay, so which means that you must always find something to write. And this, apart from the concept, the specific objectives, you have to list them, and you have to find out studies that are directly or indirectly related to them.
Okay, directly or indirectly related.
Yes. Okay. Directly or indirectly. Yes.
Oh, Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, best man.
Good evening, Prof.
Yeah, best man, my namesake, although you are best of the men. You are best of the men, but our own is both gender.
Thank you, Prof, for the lecture, sir. I
Yes.
just want to find out, is the decision we have for us now that want to specialize in environmental and occupational health, and the course has not been taught at the moment. How do we go about submitting our topics when the details of the course are not actually
Okay. Anyway, I'm sure you. One thing there is this. One thing there is that you probably know the aspects. You know the area you want to carry out the study, and we can help you. The supervisors can help bridge that knowledge gap. It will help in bridging the knowledge gap.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Well done. So I don't know. The next one is the methodology. Let me see. I don't know whether to take this methodology starting tomorrow, or I just just take up to the study area and study population, and then okay, that was what I did. Okay, so let's just the next one is methodology. Is another very important part. In fact, methodology will tell you you are going to write how you are going to carry out the study. You are going to write how you are going to write the study. And it has a lot of subsections, study area, study population, study design, study tool, inclusion and exclusion criteria, sample size calculation, sampling method. Okay, you are doing a cross-sectional study, so this intervention will not be necessary. Data collection, data analysis, ethical considerations. You are going to, so you have something, you are going to write something on all of these subsections, briefly. So we are going to tell you what to write in each of these subsections, starting with the study area. Study area is where you are carrying out the study. And where you are carrying out the study is you want your study to be, the findings of your study to be not only in the area, in the place where you carry out the study, but also in similar places. And in public health, we are interested in rural, urban. In public health, we are interested in rural, urban. We are interested in the so-called ecological zones. In Nigeria, we are interested in oil-producing communities, especially in the Niger Delta. Yes, because we believe that they are distinct. They have peculiarities. So when you are carrying out a study in an oil-producing community, you want that study to be representative of the oil-producing community. When you are carrying out a study in a rural area, you want the study to be representative of, the findings to be applicable to most rural areas. And what are they? Rural areas, they are closer to nature. They are closer to the natural environment. And because they are closer to the natural environment, it means that things like Lassa fever, Lassa fever are more. And of course, in rural areas, they don't have a lot of social amenities. They don't have a lot of social amenities. Okay? They don't have a lot of social amenities. Okay, so when you are carrying out the study, you are carrying out the study in a named study area. But if you say it's a rural community, you have to describe the conditions, the conditions in that your study area that makes it a truly rural community. If you say that you're carrying out a study in an oil-producing community, you have to give information, not only geographical. A lot of people go and give geographical information. A lot of people will give the stories, history of the area. No. What is most important to us in public health is to describe, if you say it's a rural area, describe what makes it a rural area, and so forth, and so forth. Even if you say you did the study in a health facility, if you say primary healthcare facility, you have to describe it we know the kind of patients that go to the primary care facilities. If you say you did the study in a tertiary health facility, we know the patients that go there. They are supposed to be patients with serious sicknesses. Don't mind in Nigeria where people with uncomplicated malaria can go to a teaching hospital. But once it is mentioned in a study, you have to describe that situation, the characteristics, and not just the geography and the historical facts. Okay. Then the other one is the study population. We talked about study population under specificity of objectives. Population. You have to specify this public population should be almost like representative. So if you are doing a study amongst, say, market women in Enugu State, wait a market in Enugu State, hypertension amongst market women in Enugu State. That study, although you did it in Enugu State, in Ogbete market, but it should also be applicable to most other markets, to market women in other markets in Nigeria. Other markets in Nigeria. So the study, you have to describe, you have to give more information about them. You have to give more information about them. And if possible, tell us how they work, how their work shadow. Give us their work shadow so that you have to give that information. So that if we are reading your work, we may probably decide that, the typical market woman in a Ogbete market in Enugu State is different from the market woman in say Sabongari market, Sabongari market in Kano. But you have to give us that information, and the only way you give us that information is to give us an idea. Give us an idea of that study population. Okay. So I want to also give you an example. If you are carrying out a study amongst married women, you have to give us an idea in a community. You have to give us an idea of the kind of marriage women in the community, the kind of marriage they have. They have the kind of marriage they have. Is it traditional? Is it traditional, mostly traditional marriage? Is it church marriage? Is it the court marriage? Is it called marriage? I know that because this is a study, and when you are carrying out a study, study, you have to do deeper. You have to dig deeper. If you say somebody's married in Nigeria, what kind of marriage or what kind of marriage? The divorce. Divorce is probably very, very easy in religious marriages and in traditional marriages. Very easy, but it's not that easy in a court marriage. Okay. So when you say you are carrying out a study amongst married women, you have to also specify that just the kind of marriage that they are commonly engaged in. Okay. Then the other thing too, like those of us in Rivers State, we also know I know that some of us may not know that marriages, especially in the Ijaw areas, Calabari, Kreka, even Popo, Bonny, their marriages are of different grades. So they have different grades. So if you are carrying out a study amongst married women in Kreka, Calabari area, you have to tell us the kind of marriage they have, the common type of marriages they have, because it can affect what you are studying. So give us something about the study population. Give us study population. Okay, and yes. Then the other one is the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Inclusion and exclusion criteria. Inclusion is to precisely define the study population. Precisely define the study population, especially when you suspect that the effect may be dose related. If you are interested in, say, pollution, exposure to pollution, you should be able to have inclusion and exclusion criteria. Who are you going to exclude, and who are you going to include, and who are you going to exclude? Please, as we used to say, that exclusion is not the opposite of inclusion. Exclusion is not the opposite of inclusion. You can only exclude those you had included. You can only exclude those you had included. So if you are carrying out a study amongst married men, you cannot go and say, you cannot go to under exclusion criteria and say you are excluding single, those that are not married. No, you did it. You can't, because you didn't include them. Okay. I think I have to stop here. Tomorrow we'll continue with the study design. I don't know if there are questions or comments before we leave. Questions? Okay, Augusta.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
I want to ask, I still want you to throw more light in this study population, because from the slide, I'm seeing that I read a place in the slide that said, if you are carrying out a study among medical students in Uniport, meaning that these medical students are representing like the whole medical student in Nigeria. But the way you explain it now, you said that you must describe, or you must have more or give more idea about that study population to differentiate them from another, like these market women in Enugu now. Describe them to differentiate them from a market woman in Ibadan.
No, it's not to differentiate. You have to give us the information, so that the person reading it, before he takes it as being applicable to the market woman in Ibadan, is the person reading it will now compare it with the typical market woman in Ibadan. Yes, but usually it is assumed that market women in Nigeria are almost the same. They're almost the same. They go to the market, they sell. They go to the market, they stay in their shops, attend to buyers or sellers. Sorry, attend to buyers and come back home. And once in a while, they will have to go and replenish their stock. So that is it. You have to state it there so that those reading, anybody reading it, because remember, the dissertation is different from an article. If you are writing an article, you say market women. You carried out in market women. That one we can take. But because you are writing, in fact, you are going to write the minimum word count is 25,000 words. So which means that you use every opportunity to provide all the information. All the information, tell us everything. So for the medical students, we expect that medical education is almost the same in Nigeria, especially because the NDCN, the Medical and Dental Council, regulates it. In fact, prescribes how medical education should be carried out. So as it is in Port Harcourt, so it is in most other medical schools. So that is what is assumed. So give us all the information. Give us all the information. Every opportunity you have to write, please write. Please write. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. And at this point, we are going to stop here today. Tomorrow, we are going to start the study design.
Thank you, Prof.
And then conclude that. Yes. So thank you very much for listening and especially for your contribution. If you don't contribute, we easily get tired. But it's your contribution that drives us on. Thank you very much. And have the best of the rest of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.